Messiah. You've probably heard the term before, but what does it really mean across different religions? Let's break it down in a way that's easy to follow, because this concept plays a big role in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and even some other belief systems. So, the word Messiah literally means the anointed one. In ancient times, kings or priests were chosen for their roles by having holy oil poured on them. That's what the word anointed refers to. But over time, the idea of a Messiah evolved into something much bigger. It started in Judaism, where the Messiah is seen as a future leader, a descendant of King David, who will bring peace, unity, and restore the temple in Jerusalem. For Jewish people, this Messiah is a regular human being, not a god or divine figure. He's expected to come in the future and accomplish things like gathering all Jewish people to Israel, rebuilding the temple, and establishing an era of global peace. No one knows when this will happen. It's kind of up to humanity to either deserve the Messiah's arrival by doing good, or need it desperately when the world's in chaos. Now, when we shift to Christianity, the Messiah concept takes a bit of a turn. The Greek word for Messiah is Christ, and Christians believe Jesus of Nazareth is that Messiah. But here's the difference. They believe Jesus fulfilled some of these prophecies during his life, death, and resurrection, and he's also going to return again to complete the rest. Unlike Judaism, in Christianity, Jesus is seen as both the Messiah and the Son of God. Then we move to Islam, where the story also includes Jesus, or Isa in Arabic. In Islamic belief, Jesus is also considered the Messiah, but instead of being the Son of God, he's a prophet. Muslims believe that at the end of times, Jesus will return to defeat a false Messiah and help bring justice. The Ahmadiyya movement, a branch of Islam, even believes that these prophecies were already fulfilled in a man named Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who they see as both the Mahdi and the Messiah. And here's something interesting. Even within Jewish communities, there are various ideas about who the Messiah might be. For example, some followers of Chabad, a sect of Hasidic Judaism, believe that two of their leaders, Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson and Menahem Mendel Schneerson, could be the Messiah, which has sparked a lot of debates. So, the idea of a Messiah is more than just a single belief. It's a concept that's been interpreted differently across religions and even within them. We've barely scratched the surface, but you can already see how the figure of the Messiah plays a massive role in shaping beliefs about the future, justice, and hope. Alright, that's a wrap for today's breakdown on the Messiah. Stay tuned because in the next part, we'll dive deeper into how these beliefs have evolved and what different traditions say about when and how the Messiah will arrive. And now let's talk about Christianity and its interpretation of the Messiah. In Christianity, the Messiah is known as the Christ. The word Christ actually comes from the Greek word Christos, which means anointed one, and is the equivalent of the Hebrew word for Messiah. Christians believe that Jesus of Nazareth fulfilled the ancient Jewish prophecies about the Messiah, being from the line of King David, declared the King of the Jews. However, they also believe that the rest of the prophecies, like bringing about a new age of peace and salvation, will happen when Jesus returns for what they call the second coming. So, in Christian belief, Jesus is not just a man chosen by God, he's the Son of God. This is where it really differs from Judaism and Islam, where the Messiah is viewed as purely human. In Christianity, the Messiah is both fully divine and human, a key difference in how these religions understand who the Messiah is. An interesting detail in the Gospels, the first 4 books of the New Testament, is how Jesus was anointed. While anointing was typically done by priests or kings, the only recorded instances of Jesus being physically anointed were by women, which was unusual for the time. This happened in different locations depending on the account. In some stories it was in Bethany, near Jerusalem, and in others it might have been in Galilee. Now, let's look at Islam's perspective on Jesus. In Islam, Jesus is called Isa and referred to as the Messiah, but the meaning is quite different from what we see in Christianity. For Muslims, Isa is a prophet, a highly respected one, but not divine. Muslims don't believe that Jesus was crucified. Instead, they believe he was raised to heaven by God before the crucifixion happened, and that someone who looked like him was crucified in his place. According to Islamic tradition, Isa is still alive in heaven and will return at the end of times. When Isa does return, he's expected to defeat the false Messiah, known as the Dajjal, and lead the world to justice. This is where the Mahdi, another important figure in Islamic eschatology, comes in. The Mahdi and Isa are expected to unite and lead humanity in a final battle against evil forces, after which Isa will rule and restore peace. Muslim scholars have differing interpretations of what Jesus' role will be in the end times, but the general belief is that he will correct misunderstandings about him and show that Islam is the true path. This also highlights the deep respect Islam has for Jesus, even though the belief is very different from the Christian concept of him as the Son of God. Meanwhile, in Shia Islam, the return of Jesus is linked to the return of the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi. Shia Muslims place a lot of emphasis on this messianic figure, who, they believe, disappeared in the 9th century and will return with Jesus to establish a kingdom of justice before the end of time. On the other hand, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has a unique take. They believe that the prophecies about the return of both Jesus and the Mahdi were fulfilled in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, their founder. They see him as both the metaphorical second coming of Jesus and the Mahdi, the divinely guided leader. What's fascinating here is that in every faith we've discussed, the Messiah serves as a figure of hope, someone who brings justice, peace, and a new era. Whether it's in the form of Jesus returning to complete his mission in Christianity, Isa coming back to defeat evil in Islam, or the Mahdi uniting the Muslim community, the messianic figure is central to each religion's vision for the future. That's where we're going to leave it for now. If this has piqued your interest, keep an eye out for our next video, where we'll dive even deeper into the different cultural impacts and interpretations of the Messiah.